Your attention one more time, please. Jaquelyn Opalach is a 7th grader at Sunnybray. Thank you. Is a 7th grader at Sunnybray Middle School. She has participated in History Day since the 4th grade, but this is her first documentary for History Day. She is the daughter of Dan Opalach and Julie Dorner. She won the Humboldt County History Day competition in the Junior Division individual documentary titled Men of the Bomb. Please welcome Jaquelyn Opalach and her video, and when the video is done, she'll have a little time for a little Q&A.
Thank you. I want to thank you for having us today. So this is your project.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
On the morning of August 6, 1945, the Enola Gay, a plane transporting an atomic bomb, took off from Tinian, a North Pacific island in the Marianas, bound for Japan. 5.5 hours later, at 8:15 a.m., a little boy was dropped on Hiroshima. The nuclear bomb claimed the lives of 66,000 people and injured over 69,000 during the first attack alone. 3 days later, a second bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, killing and wounding another 64,000. The process of uranium fission was discovered by Otto Hahn, a German scientist, in late 1938. In the procedure of uranium fission, a uranium atom absorbs a neutron and fissions into 2 new atoms, releasing 3 new neutrons and building energy. This discovery worried some American physicists. They feared that Germany, under Nazi aggression, was working to create a nuclear bomb. Supporting this fear was Nazi Germany's halt to the sale of uranium from Belgium. 6 months later, on August 2, 1939, Albert Einstein wrote a letter to President Franklin Roosevelt regarding this discovery. He addressed the possibility of nuclear weaponry and said, "Now it appears almost certain that this could be achieved in the immediate future." Einstein then advised Roosevelt to invest in the materials necessary to build a bomb for the United States. As it was later discovered, Einstein and his colleagues were correct. In September of 1939, Germany had begun their uranium project, involving a wide variety of different scientists. But this project moved at a slow pace, not having significant support from the Nazi regime. A bomb was not finished before the war in Germany was over. Japan had also started a secret project called the AFGO program. This was established in 1942 at Kyoto. But the Japanese did not have the adequate resources or materials necessary for the development of the bomb, and had made little progress on it by the time the war was over. It was not until 1942, as the Nazis swept through Europe, that Roosevelt gave serious support to the development of a nuclear bomb. The highly secretive Manhattan Project was established. General Leslie Groves was the project's military director, and Robert Oppenheimer was the scientific director responsible for assembling the bomb. From 1942 to 1945, about 60 international scientists worked toward a nuclear weapon. Finally, on July 16, 1945, the main contributors of the Manhattan Project gathered in New Mexico for the Trinity test to watch the explosion of the first atomic bomb ever made. The results exceeded nearly everyone's expectations, especially Oppenheimer's, who feared he had invented a failure. He had not. Once the atomic bomb was a reality, the decision whether to use it loomed. It had originally been a weapon to use against the Nazis. The European part of the war had ended in May of 1945 when Germany surrendered. Should the bomb be dropped on Japan, where conventional means of war continued to rage? Did we have the right? Did we have the responsibility to protect our servicemen? When deciding whether to drop the bomb, now President Harry Truman was persuaded by the Interim Committee, which had been established as a study of the consequences of dropping a bomb. Henry L. Stimson, Secretary of War, was the chairman of this 8-person committee. Shortly before the bomb was dropped, the committee recommended that a nuclear bomb should be used against Japan as soon as possible, that it should be used on a war plant surrounded by workers' homes, and that it be used without prior warning. The United States had won the race to build the bomb, and just a few months after the Trinity test, President Truman gave executive order to drop the nuclear weapons on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. On August 14, 1945, Japan surrendered and World War II was finally over. After the bombing, Einstein, who had not directly taken part in the creation of the bomb, did not even speak publicly of the event for a year. Finally, his words conveyed his feelings. I could burn my fingers that I wrote that first letter to Roosevelt. Unlike Einstein, Oppenheimer, who had been greatly responsible for the development of the nuclear weapon, appeared to be profoundly delighted with his success. On the day of the first bombing, he stood before a cheering crowd, declaring that his only regret was not creating the bomb in time to use it against the Germans. President Harry S. Truman had absolutely no regrets whatsoever. He strongly felt that Japan had deserved the nuclear attack. On August 9th, right after the second bombing on Nagasaki, he said, "Having found the bomb, we have used it. We have used it against those who attacked us without warning at Pearl Harbor, against those who have starved and beaten and executed American prisoners of war, against those who have abandoned all pretense of obeying international laws of warfare. We have used it in order to shorten the agony of war, in order to save the lives of thousands and thousands of young Americans." Still, for nearly 70 years, politicians, philosophers, historians, and everyday citizens have wondered if the United States had the right to drop the atomic bomb. Oppenheimer had in fact had doubts as early as the Trinity test explosion about using a nuclear bomb. Seeing an atomic bomb for real had prompted Oppenheimer to have second thoughts, but he tried not to allow this to interfere with his work. Nevertheless, his uncertainty began to show when an associate ran into him on his way to work and heard Oppenheimer repeat over and over, "Those poor little people, those poor little people," referring to the Japanese victim. Could the suffering in Hiroshima and Nagasaki due to atomic weaponry have been prevented with a conventional end to the war? Oppenheimer was ultimately unable to come to peace with his creation of a nuclear bomb. He was proud of his invention, but felt responsible for the horrors it had caused. Oppenheimer voiced, "When you see something that is technically sweet, you go ahead and do it, and you argue about what to do about it only after you have had your technical success." That is the way it was with the atomic bomb. Oppenheimer's despair with himself never quite ended. "Mr. President, I feel I have blood on my hands," he confessed to Truman. The president was appalled and declared that Oppenheimer was a crybaby scientist. Today, 9 known countries are in possession of nuclear weapons. The United States ran the first nuclear test in 1945. Russia in 1949. The United Kingdom in 1952. France in 1960, China in 1964, India in 1974, Pakistan in 1998, North Korea in 2006, Israel at an undisclosed time. Iran's bomb-making goals continue to be controversial in the area of atomic weapons. Many people around the world fear that a terrorist group may one day possess a nuclear bomb. Several incidents involving atomic bombs have occurred since the invention of nuclear energy. The human race has had to cope with the right that came with the invention of these atomic weapons. The continuing incidents have caused some to question whether we have the responsibility needed for dealing with nuclear weaponry. Ever since 1945, the world has struggled with the responsibility that comes with the right of using atomic energy. We have made a thing, the most terrible weapon, that has altered abruptly and profoundly the nature of the world. A thing that by all the standards of the world we grew up in is an evil thing. And by so doing, we have raised again the question of whether science is good for man. Robert Oppenheimer.
Anybody have any questions of her?
So this is the project that I shared for the county competition. Since then I've altered it a little bit and I wanted to share with you guys my newest rendition of it, but I was having technical difficulties with it. But hopefully I'll get it back on track before state competition. So yeah, this was my county project. Thank you.
Thank you.